We're back on the show, Startups with Stu, and today's guest has built and exited multiple successful businesses across 2 continents. Todd Kuhn is the founder of Core Lab, a Pilates equipment and training company now expanding into the United States. But before Core Lab, Todd built 2 fitness businesses in Australia from the ground up. First, Pure Health Clubs, a multi-location gym he launched at just 21, and then Rebalance, a boutique Pilates and yoga brand that grew from 1 studio to 20 locations before being acquired by an ASX-listed company in 2021. All of it bootstrapped. No investors, no loans, just passion, persistence, and a very Aussie mentality of have a go. 25 years in fitness, 2 successful exits, my new favorite phrase, have a go. You're going to love this episode. Todd, welcome to the show.
Startups with Stu is a podcast for anyone living or wanting to live the startup life, either as a founder or a team member. Your host, Stuart Draper, was a 9-time Inc. 5000 honoree before age 40. This show dives deep into the exhilarating world of entrepreneurship with guests that are seeking advice from Stu for their startup or business owners that want to share their entrepreneurial journey. Listeners always walk away with actionable ideas of what to do to take their startup to the moon. Startup life can feel like a roller coaster ride, and with Startups with Stu, you're likely to turn your roller coaster ride into a rocket ship ride. Get ready to uncover the secrets to startup success from visionary founders and savvy investors who've transformed groundbreaking ideas into thriving ventures.
This is going to be a fun one, folks. You're going to enjoy the accent of our friend from down under. We have with us today Mr. Todd Kuhn of Core Lab. Todd, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Stu. Thanks for having me.
It's such a pleasure. I love to hear stories of different founders that find different ways to make a go in this world. And you've done it by making a difference, helping people stay healthy, right?
Correct. Pretty much from day dot.
I love it. So on the show, Startups with Stu, we talk about what it takes to take your startup to the moon. And for everyone, the moon or the destination, the big end goal is different. So it'll be fun, Todd, to hear your story and talk about what your moon landing looks like for you and your business and your career. Todd, tell us about the early days. What was it like growing up for you?
Growing up, I was heavily into sports. So rugby league was my thing, with rugby, which you guys over here will know it as. Very, very dedicated right through from very young age, 7, right through to when I was 20. But in those teenage years, I was fortunate enough to actually be scouted by one of the large sporting clubs or rugby league clubs in Australia, or actually the largest, most professional, most funded. And that was when I was 17, 18. And after that, I went through a period of like a downturn where I got shafted or moved on from that organization. And I found myself in a lower level organization. And I guess for me, was kind of, now looking back on it, I could have actually stayed there and kept pushing, but I think I felt like that bit of burnout where I had pushed so hard in those teenage years. And then I saw other opportunities in business and the training required to be a professional athlete versus where my goals sort of sat as being a business person, where it was like the fork in the road that I had to decide which way am I going to go. And I chose the business side, which meant that I couldn't train 3 nights a week and I couldn't be there on a Saturday to play games or whatever. So, and that's sort of where I landed.
So athletics was always a part of life.
Definitely.
And you were a standout. I mean, recruited by the top tier program says a lot about the level of skill you had. And so with that, were you always kind of like, I'm going to stay in the world of sports the rest of my life? Was that always kind of the aim, or did it kind of leave that?
Not really. That's an interesting story in itself. So I was at uni, college, and I was doing business marketing. And I thought I saw myself always as my father's very entrepreneurial, sort of in and out of all different types of businesses. And I kind of saw that as leverage time for money, I guess. that he was always earning more from doing less. But I saw myself in a suit with a suitcase, and I didn't know what I wanted to be, but I wanted to be something in business. So I went that route. But after graduating, I was fortunate enough to get a graduate position with another large organization, but in a field that just didn't suit me. And I lasted 6 months, and I couldn't be in a desk environment all day, every day. So I actually, at that time, I pivoted a little bit, and I kept the job, but I went back to school and did personal training. And I thought, okay, well, maybe how can I have both of these strings to my bow? And my partner at the time was actually doing Pilates classes, and her instructor was just full to the top. She couldn't take any more clients on. And she said, oh, a great opportunity for you would be to go and do Pilates training, which she did. And then we kind of put it together of running the business or running classes. Interestingly enough, Stu, you mentioned off screen that your daughter ran from like a barn setup, and we kind of did the same thing. We ran multiple classes. We had about 40 locations in scout halls and town halls that we were running these Pilates mat work classes for about 4 to 5 months. But we were like, we wanted something bigger. We wanted a location, and multiple locations was the goal. And so we went down that route of running the classes through scout halls and did really well. We were having like 400 people per term do it and making really good money. But we had seen one location in particular in our hometown where we thought this would be great to create a studio that brought everything in fitness together, brought the strength training and cardio training with Pilates as well. And at that stage, I was still young. I was only 21. And we went for it. It was 2001. It was the rent was 120,000 per year. Everyone thought we were mad, but we just went and had a crack, had a go, which is kind of like an Aussie way that you just have a go and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen?
Have a go. I love that mentality and that phrase. Have a go.
Yeah.
Like take the shot. Take the risk and give it a try. Right? What do I got to lose? Kind of mentality. Right?
Definitely. And then, from there, it sort of just grew. I went and did my Pilates training, and then we put it all together and launched that business, which was in a great area, and it's still running today. And
which is Core Lab, is that correct?
No. So this was actually called Pure Health Clubs, the first one that we ever started.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we opened 2 other locations of that, and then I exited that business in 2012 myself. Then moved to the next chapter of seeing that it was big. It was a large facility, so about 6,000 square feet, large in not in all terms, but fairly large. When I left that business, I was really, I guess, because the rent was always so large, I was like, oh, how could you do this on a smaller scale? And looking around, seeing that the boutique style fitness was starting to take off. My wife and I now, we came to the US actually, and we were looking around at concepts, and we were thinking, what do people want and what can we do differently? And we went back home and we found a location that was 1,000 square feet. So like a big downgrade, 30% of the rent, or less actually. And we just went for it. We were like, we were going down one path of doing a cycling studio with Pilates. And then we decided, no, look, let's keep it in the Pilates and yoga realm. So it was Pilates and yoga studios. And we started with a goal of just really having one profitable studio. And something that I speak to everyone about this and say that I think it's so important is having like a mentor, having someone there that's helping you see like a bigger vision, which was interesting. We joined a coaching program and the coaching program actually had us come to Hawaii for 5 days, sitting in a mastermind room and breaking down our business and saying, what are you doing well? What could you do better? What is your goal? What's your bigger goal? And from that, I was at that stage, we were doing all of the classes ourselves. We were doing all of the management ourselves. And by the end of that weekend, my wife had actually got me off 95% of the classes that I was teaching. And we were focusing then on opening more locations, which was it was that penny drop moment where you go, hang on, we're thinking too small. We've got an opportunity here that we've grown something quite quickly. How can we now take this to the next level? So from there, we were like, our goal is to have 10 locations. And then we did that over the next 3 years. We got to 10. And then in the next 2 years after that, we got to 20 locations just before COVID. Then we had to close a couple of locations through that period. And then we exited that business in 2021.
Okay, so I there's so many cool parts of this story. So 2012, you have your first meaningful transaction as a business owner, where you exited the original gym that's still going today. And you love to hear stories and know of founders where they built a brand and a business model that could sustain itself well after they left it. Isn't that neat to kind of still see your brand out there and to see them doing it the way they do it?
It is interesting. I have a really a sentimental side from this point of view of that. You see that you've built something, and then it's like you're another child, right? And leaving it is difficult, but also kind of refreshing. It's like it feels like when you're entrenched and you're so in it and everything is part of you. I take all the hits personally as well as the business. So leaving it is definitely a challenge, but it's also like a legacy, which is kind of cool.
What was the style of valuation for that business that you guys sold in 2012?
Yeah, no, in 2012 was actually just, I actually left the business. That was
Okay.
dissolvement of the partnership. But 2021, the valuation was just the standard rate based on profit.
So it was a multiple of bottom line.
Multiple of profit. And we were purchased by an Australian Stock Exchange listed company. So it was very much like, this is what we pay and this is all we pay. This is the multiple. Away you go.
Did they just reach out to you and say, hey, we want to do this? Or did you?
That was interesting in itself. We had got to the level, we got to 20, we closed 4, we had 16. So we had 12 of our own locations, and then we had 4 franchises. Sorry, when I say 12, we did have some partnerships, and that was interesting in itself. So in that mastermind, we weren't sure what route to go. We were like, we can keep expanding ourselves, or our coach Travis, who was amazing and instrumental in a lot of things that we did. He actually was running a partnership model where he was getting partners in that was a working partner. He was providing the systems and the strategy, but the partners were the workhorses. And we went down that route for the first few, which was pros and cons. Like, a lot of people talk and they say to me, oh, what would you recommend, doing it yourself, partnering, or franchising? And there's so many variables in play there of who the partner is. What do they bring to the picture, and what do you bring to the picture? And are they going to be happy being the workhorse and you being the strategist? So I always say it's so dependable on so many factors. So where was I? Then, so what we actually did, we engaged a business broker to try to help us expand on the franchising. So we had kind of settled after years that the franchising route might be the route that we're going. But what we found is that we were having a lot of conversations with people that loved the business. They loved it from the outside, but then sitting with them, it was kind of like a I'm going to give you this amount of money and I expect that I'm going to get this return, but I want to sit at home or I want to sit on the beach somewhere. So then he had a contact with the stock exchange listed company and presented it to them, and they were like, we want to get into that boutique space. This could be a good opportunity for us. And that's how it all came about.
So they were at the time, you guys were about 20 locations, you said?
Yeah. So we were, well, at that time after COVID, we were at 16.
And then now how many locations do they have?
Well, this is actually interesting, and getting back to that previous point of the legacy. So they've bought the rights to one of the largest Pilates brands from the US, Club Pilates, and they're actually converting every single location that we had to a Club Pilates in Australia. So that's kind of also, I've had so many old employees reach out and be like, oh, this is such a sad day. Rebalance is going to be closing and we're reopening as a Club Pilates. But it's like I always say, that's just progress too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. And I think for every brand that's built, there's and that there's a life cycle that they have, and some can go for centuries and others last a few years and then a few decades. It's just all over the board. And when there's larger transactions, that's definitely going to change
Definitely.
the interests of the whoever owns and buys the brands. So
definitely.
a couple of things that if I'm an aspiring entrepreneur listening to this show, then I want to hear your advice for them, because you mentioned that you sat in front of a computer for 6 months and were like, I'm not going to be able to do this. This isn't me. And you actually didn't. I think a lot of people stay.
Yeah.
They don't want to take the risk. They don't want to have a go, which I think this episode's got to be titled Have a Go at Entrepreneurship with Todd Kuhn. But like, being willing to say, hey, this doesn't work and that's okay. Not, hey, this doesn't work, that means I'm a failure. It means that I got to go a different direction. I love that. So I want to hear your advice for the aspiring founder. And then also along with that one, okay, so keep that in mind. And then also you said I had taken the 2012 exit thing as like a good thing, but it sounds like it was a decision to like, hey, I'm better off pivoting again because this doesn't make sense the way that I'm currently set up. And so you've had to go through what sounds like some hard changes at times in those early days. So what advice do you have for aspiring founders as it relates to that?
First, I'm really, really big on if you're doing something that you hate doing or that just doesn't align with you, just cut the strings, cut the ties.
Tough, right?
It's like I've got friends now that I know are in jobs that they despise, and I understand the paycheck and I understand that, but it's like, and doing the work, like even if you're working 9 to 5 and you've got a goal and you've got an aspiration to do something from 5 till 10, because if you're passionate about it, you'll just do it. So I'm huge on that. And what is the worst that can happen? Sure, I understand that people have mortgages and repayments and all of those types of things. But if you really want to get out, you'll do what needs to be done to get out of that situation. And it really, the have a go is just so big for me. I'm like, what is the worst that can happen? And we're only here for a number of years. So I don't want to be looking back and saying, I wish I had have done that. I wish I had have done this. Just do it, like Nike says.
So with the decision to move on from a partnership that's not working, what advice do you have for founders in that situation?
That was kind of a forced hand. It was a divorce, so it was a marriage separation. So I chose that route. So, and that was tough in itself. I actually got double whammied, because on the side of the health fitness business, we also had a nutrition coaching business together with another partner. And from that that one stung when I basically was told, look, you're no longer useful here in the capacity that you're here. And I think that also lit a bit of a fire for me, that I was like, you know what, I think I bring more value than you're giving me credit for. Um, and then and that started that journey. I mean, it's like, I mean, even on the daily, even now, I have those days where I'm second guessing myself, but forward momentum always gets you through everything. If you look forward and you have good people around you. I'm lucky I've got my wife who at times can be more emotional, but then when I'm feeling like those days when I feel down, she'll bring me back to the straight and narrow, and I'll be like, hang on, I'm back on path now. I feel good.
I love that message that while your first marriage didn't work, you have a spouse now that you found is very supportive of your entrepreneurial endeavors and desires and passions, and then can be so supportive. I found that with so many. I mean, I think by the time your episode publishes, it'll be like episode 60 something, and I would say that a key theme throughout most of them is that there's been family that's supportive for those that are successful.
I think it is, and like I'm I I'm a dreamer, and the our partnership works so well because Jen is a realist, so I can dream, and then she can bring it back to be like, well, I get that dream, but how are we going to make this happen, and how are we going to happen? How's it going to happen together? Because I speak to so many people the opposite, where they've got a dream and then they've got someone that's like an anchor pulling them back, saying that won't work, you can't do that. And I understand that noise must be like just a big weight on the shoulders, and disappointing to not have that support.
Okay, so what's the dream now? Like Core Lab is what you're working on today?
Core Collab, yeah. So we do equipment, and training. So our goal now is just to expand our brand in the US. So we've only been here for a couple of years. We've got one really great product, and we've developed a method. We've got our training academy, and we just really want to take that to the next level. Um, what that looks like at the moment, like we've got a goal. Again, we've always been about building something that can be exited. So we're traveling along quite well at the moment, but we've got some of our goals is to be fully integrated. So we've just started progress on our own factory. So we've been contract manufacturing, where we're doing all the designing, but then someone else is doing the construction. So we're looking at avenues of how we can have the vertical integration across the whole business, and then it's just getting out there. So we would like to double our revenue from where we are now. We're sitting around 5 to 7 million. We'd like to get to 10, and then look at what are the opportunities for us to take to market and exit the business.
Yeah, I think that you are very wise. I think that comes with time and experience and having been there and sold a business now. But the idea that from the beginning, Todd had a plan that he thought of different ways others would see the value and be willing to pay the value for the business he was building. Man, there's just very few ways in life to uh, level up your wealth besides building an asset that has the kind of value uh, a business does. And so good for you seeing that and doing it. And also uh, good for you mentioning it. I appreciate you mentioning it because too many founders, I believe, they build without a plan for exit. And it's not that you have to have a crystal ball. It's not that you have to know who's the right buyer or that anyone will want to buy it someday. You should build a business that you're going to enjoy working on in case you have to keep it forever because you enjoy the work and it's the type of work you enjoy doing. But if you don't know the value of what you're building, then you may be very disappointed later in life at how much time and energy you put into something that doesn't give back to what you put into it. And so, imagine this, you buy ground and you're like, I'm going to build a house. And you are like, I want a house out of plastic, and then we're not going to do wood studs. And you're like, I just love it. It's the style I want. I'm going to build it. And then you build it and you pay 3 times the cost of wood. And you're like, but it's the way I like it. Okay, great. You like it. Now, 15 years go by and you're like, I want to sell this house. I'm ready to move. All of a sudden, when people are only willing to pay the price of 1/3 of what you paid to have it built because you chose plastic and that's what you wanted, great. But you didn't think about the fact that later there wouldn't be anyone that wanted to see. When you build a business, you may think you're going to keep it forever. You may think you're going to give it to family, but you have to ask yourself, what is someone else going to be willing to pay for this later in case I get cancer, in case my wife gets really sick and I just want to spend time with her? Like, there are instances for everyone in life where life happens, things change, divorces happen, and you need to have a plan to be able to get out and get value for all the work you did, because the time, money, and energy that you're putting into it need to pay back someday. And the cash, whatever salary you're giving yourself, it's not enough. It's whatever amount it is. The real value of your business will be in the value that you get with either dividends or a liquidity event.
That actually is a super interesting point, and that's my philosophy has always been about minimizing startup cost and maximizing revenue profitability actually. And I see so many people that go like a route where they go to a fit out and they spend $750,000 on the fit out, but then they're not looking that in 2 years, like what you're saying, if there is an event that changes in your life and you need to get out of that business, you've invested $1 million and the business is only making $200,000 profit, then you're probably not even going to get back your initial investment, let alone anything on top of that. So in our current business, I'm very big on helping people that want to open studios to understand that concept, that yes, it sounds good to have a beautiful facility with gold taps and French linen, but the reality is it's all in how do I make this business profitable so that it's worth more at the end of the day.
One of the reasons your outreach about coming on my show piqued my interest, Todd, was because of your ties to Pilates and my 16-year-old daughter's interest in Pilates. She has been starting to go to this class for Pilates. It was like mind blowing for me. All of a sudden, my 16-year-old was waking up at like well before I got out of bed, and I'd wake up and go out of the bedroom and see her in the kitchen making herself breakfast because she'd already been at Pilates. It's so awesome that she's found this passion and love for it. I think she loves the workout outfits, by the way, as much as she loves the workout, right? But man, I love the passion that she has for it. And it got so big that she's made really good friendship with her instructor. And she needed to help. She wanted to help raise money for a close family friend that went through a really hard time financially. So she set up in our barn this set of 3 sessions of Pilates that they were going to offer. And she was able to get sponsors to send swag, to do giveaways to the tune of thousands of dollars from national brands, international brands, Lululemon, big brands, right? Had helped. It was so cool to see. And then over the course of that one day, they generated like $8,000 to give to this lady that needed help. And she's just my 16-year-old daughter doing all this big stuff. And hopefully it means that dad's been setting a bit of a good example, right, with the work that I do. But man, I was so proud of her. And I started thinking like, man, maybe a Pilates studio would be something I could fund and do with her and her instructor. But who knows if that will ever happen. But assuming that my daughter was interested, what advice would you have for her in like the most important ingredients for success with a Pilates studio?
Persistence. That in anything, like, if the first thing is getting started, but then knowing, it all starts with the vision. Like, what is the vision? I believe is the critical piece of saying, okay, this is what I want. And like you said, it doesn't have to be set in stone that that's what you're going to do, but like, have a big vision. um and then the persistence piece. And I'm a big one of just learning from as many different people, many different sources as you can, and continually learning. I learn something new every day about this, about the industry, about coaching, about everything. And I've been doing this for 25 years. And often I speak to people that have been doing it for 6 months, and they're trying to tell me that, oh no, I know that, I know this. And it's like, we've all got things to learn. And if you're continually learning, then you're going to be the best version of yourself, which is going to transform into the best version of your business and the best version of everything, your life.
So I expected you to be like, oh, location, oh, the software, oh, it's about the right equipment. It's persistence. I think, yes, too many founders, they go into it and they're like, oh, I make the best pie. Like my pie shop, it's just going to sell so much pie because my pie is the best. And it's like, well, it's one ingredient of many ingredients that make a good pie, right? Same happens with a business, but none of those ingredients will matter if you don't stay persistent in continuing to work on the business, not just on the pies, right?
Totally. Totally. And passion. Like, I talk to a lot of our people that are opening studios about finding something. Like, the values of your business will be usually an extension of your values. And if you want to create a studio, for example, you need to live those values, and you need to create that community. And these things are so much more important than whether or not your mirrors are the right height, or what color your studio is, or where it is. Like, they're just subsections of what you need to be concerned about. If you create an environment and a feeling within that studio, you'll get people coming, and you'll get people staying, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, you've been through 25 years of this now. If you were to go back and do it all over again, or talk to your younger self about entrepreneurship, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself, and I still need to tell myself this on a daily basis: delegate more and lead more. So rather than trying to take on and wear so many hats on a daily basis, find the right people and train the right people and lead the right people. And then you can step back from actually the doing to more of that strategy and more of the bigger picture.
Yes. It's really easy with the hats you absolutely hate, or where you just literally, it won't fit your head, to give away those hats. But then we as entrepreneurs love to stack hats, right? And just wear them all. And it's the wrong way to do it. You have to sometimes, when you don't know, early days financially, it's tough, but man, you have to figure out a way to afford to give away hats. It's important, isn't it?
Definitely. This is a critical piece. Again, getting back to the people that I speak to, the first conversation will be, well, what will be your role in the business? And they're like, well, I'm going to teach 25 classes per week, and I'm going to do the marketing, then I'm going to do the customer service. And it's like, you will be feeling like you're burned out after 2 months of doing that. So you need to think bigger picture of, what can I offload? How can I bring my best energy to the business that's going to make the business be the best, and not, sap me of energy.
So on the show, Startups with Stu, Todd, we talk about what it takes to take your startup to the moon, as I've mentioned, and I'll say it again and again. I think we need to aim for the moon. We need to think big, that far out. And so for you, you pretty much outlined for us where your aim is right now. The moon landing for you is an exit at a certain valuation.
Yeah.
Why? What's next for you? What's the end goal of it? Is it like, that means I'll be financially set and I want to be able to see the world more? Or what is it? What are the things for you that you're after?
that financial freedom of being able to have more freedom, but also like we've got kids that are getting to the age where I would love to have an impact that if they decided that they wanted to go a similar route, that we could support them and mentor them in their journey, if that's the journey they chose. That kind of excites me. I think I'll always be helping people because I just like helping people. Um, and probably sometimes to my detriment that I think that I can give more time to more people than I actually can. Um, but and then going through I guess a different phase of becoming more of an investor rather than a worker, than an operator.
What are some of the things that you did early days to financially survive in your business and to I mean, it sounds like persistence was obviously key for you, but and that's because if that's the advice you're giving, but like banks, traditional lending, what did you do?
This that's actually an interesting question, and I don't know whether this is silly or whether this is smart, but in no business have I ever had any sort of finance or loan, which is actually crazy. Everything is
Mhm.
being funded through the business reaching a profitable point to reinvest back into more product or more locations or any expansion, which is kind of crazy. But at the same time, when I look at it, I feel like I actually can't believe that we've done that without the help of investors or bankers or whoever else. I think, and might get back to control a little bit too, that I've always been, if I'm responsible, am I reporting to myself and my partner, then that's all want to be reporting to. Whereas I look at some people, they go, I've got an investor in, they've got 20%, but then I kind of feel like I would always be at their mercy a little bit. So um, I've always wanted to steer away from that, which might be silly. And it's not something that I'm saying that I would never do, because maybe to go to the next level, that's what we need to do. So that's for the future. That's not out of the realm.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you, Todd, that my guess is that a lot of private equity groups that would be interested in buying your business would likely be excited by the fact that you don't have any debt yet. Because the first thing they're going to do to grow your business a lot faster is put a burden of debt on the business to be able to grow faster and go from 10 million to 100 million.
Yeah.
Like, and they know that they know that your business will have had years to prove that it can afford the debt to grow bigger faster. And that's going to be how they're going to get their next payday out of the investment buying your business. Right. So, um, yeah, I love that you said that you're not opposed to it down the road or something, because uh, when I started getfoundfirst.com, we were a Google Ad Premier partner. It was all homegrown, all bootstrapped. And then I wanted to start this education technology business that had ties back to digital marketing, but it was a different space. And one of the things that was very different about education was you made money in January and September, the two
Yeah.
times at the beginning of semesters.
Mhm.
And due to that nature of seasonality for the business, it meant I needed to find a way to meet payroll all the other months when we weren't going to make nearly as much money. And so I kind of had to get to a place where I raised money to start the business. And it changed my whole perspective, because all of a sudden I had raised money, and I had raised it for two reasons: salary for employees that I had to pay,
Yeah.
but also for acquiring customers. And it was mind blowing for me, because it was like all of a sudden now I have this easier, faster way to make more money that I didn't have, because I was always strapped for cash. I think bootstrapping, they should just call it strapped for cash all the time. And all of a sudden, when you're not strapped, if you're wise with the investments and you put the money to good use, then it can be such a tool for success. If you can build a business like Todd, you guys, you'll sleep so much better at night knowing that you don't have anyone that's going to take your business tomorrow if you can't make it. But so there's no right or wrong here. I just think I love hearing the stories of how people finance their business. So you got creative then. Like, how did you even afford the leases at the beginning?
Well, I was in the first locations, Pure Health Clubs. It was actually just funded because we were running those courses in those town halls and scout halls throughout our city. So we had amassed like 150,000 cash in 6 months. So that was how that was funded. Second, in the second business in Rebalance, that was funded by just if the story of that is just crazy. Like we were buying timber floors on Marketplace, and it was $2,000 here and $4,000 there, and it was very, very, very tight. So which is stressful, but then obviously it is rewarding as well when you get to that next stage of opening another location and you've got the cash there to be able to do that next one and the next one and the next one. But I've always been very to that principle we were talking about before of how do I open for the least amount of money that can then maximize the income from that location. So we're doing it at the moment. We've our two of husband and wife of our one of our franchisees from back in Australia have actually just moved over, and we're launching a studio in Dallas. And we've done the same principle here. We're keeping things very, very tight as far as the startup cost, and then just work towards maximizing and then opening more locations and going from there. So we're excited about that as well.
So cool. That's so cool. So that's a good segue into another subject I wanted to cover before we wrap up here. You mentioned that you're in Dallas for an opening here soon. Grew up in Australia. What has it been like learning the ropes of business in a different country? Has that been hard?
There's definitely it has been very interesting. So and speaking to different people in different parts of the US, it's obviously so different in each state and even each county, which I also find really fascinating, that some people can be open within 2 weeks and permits are all done, and other people are waiting 9 or 10 months. I find that crazy. Yep. Australia, I find the US market is much more supportive of business and of entrepreneurs. In Australia, taxes and permitting fees and everything, it makes it very restrictive to people to have a go. So, which is why a lot of people now are looking for, side hustles that are on the web, or side hustles that are a very low startup, which I understand. But getting back to the first point that we spoke about is if you're passionate about it, you'll make it work anyway.
I love it. So that if you're passionate enough about it, you'll find a way to make it work anyway. I love that mentality and point. And it is the truth. So Todd, if I, as your friend now from having hung out on the show, and as listeners, if we as your friends want to help you, what's the best way to help you with the Core Collab?
Well, jump onto the web, www.thecorecollabusa.com, if you're looking for any Pilates equipment, or you're looking to open a studio, or even if you're looking for any advice regarding anything related to business. I'm an open book. I'm very transparent, and I just like helping people make that step. I think it makes me, if I can have a positive impact on someone to start a business and just have a go, then I'm all for it.
Well, fantastic. I may have to put you in touch with my daughter then. The equipment does look really fancy and nice on the website, by the way. So I am impressed by the look of it. Where did you go to get the equipment manufactured? Was that an overseas process?
Interesting story in that one too. So the first studios that we opened, my friend around down the road was a welder, a steel worker. He made steel frames for us, powder coated them. My grandfather made the carriages, so he made the timber which was pretty crazy. Like when I look back now, sometimes I forget when I tell people the story. I forget that my grandfather put them together and underneath his house in his garage.
That is so cool, man.
And then from there, we started working we continued working with Ty, the Australian guy that was making the frames and everything. And he actually got to a stage where he just straight up said to me, we can't compete. Go overseas and see what you can get. We've tried a couple of locations. We've looked into Thailand, Turkey, China's where everything's made. The issue with it is that you just got to have really strong quality control, and you've got to continually upgrade and look for the best product and also the best process to actually manufacture. And that's where we're at now.
Good for you making that happen. Did you fly over there? Did you hire a group that helps you with that? Or?
No, again, I've always trusted my instincts more than someone else's. So I fly in. I go usually 4 or 5 times a year, and I usually do all my own sourcing of certain parts. Like there's certain parts that are pretty standard, but I'm always looking for how can we be better. For example, like we've got some wheels. The wheels are pretty standard in the marketplace. A lot of places will use the exact same wheel. We've just developed a new wheel that has been going to other suppliers and then sample testing multiple times, which has been back and forth. But now we've finally got an excellent product that we're really happy with. But that's an interesting process in itself, like working or going into China with no translator and just turning up to a factory and sign languaging what we need and what we don't want and what we do want. It's fun. Frustrating.
So fun.
But fun.
I love seeing in your face that you do light up and you are having fun with that, because in business, you guys, if you can't have fun with it, then go do something else. Trust us. Todd mentioned that earlier, and I'll say it again. If you're not having fun with it, it's going to be really hard to justify continuing on all the hard days as an entrepreneur, right?
Definitely. Fun's the key. Even if it's not fun, try to make it fun somehow.
Well, as my Aussie friend would say, the Core Collab, but it's thecorecollabusa.com is where you will find their beautiful equipment for your next Pilates studio. If you know anyone in the health industry, pass along this episode. Let them hear it. If you know any entrepreneur that's looking to be in the health industry, pass along this episode. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Startups with Stu, where we talk about what it takes to take your startup to the moon, like Mr. Todd Kuhn has done himself. Todd, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Stu. Loved it.
Thanks for joining me on Startups with Stu. We have big goals to help millions of entrepreneurs. If you enjoyed this show, please take a minute to share it with someone else that needs to hear it, or leave a review. Remember, success is within reach for those who dare to dream big and take action. Until next time, keep pushing forward on your entrepreneurial journey.